The spiral, we see it in nature, right? And it has this implicit move, which is like, the beginning, but at the end could be infinite. And that's why we think that represents human life.
Hello, welcome to ProLife Brand,
where we share our ideas to create a unifying visual identity for the pro-life movement.
This is Kate Yep, along with my husband,
Kai Yep. And our baby too.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of ProLife Brand. Today we're excited to talk about the design behind our symbol and flag. And this is going to be a two-parter. So in part one, we're going to be talking about the symbol and the flag and just more details behind the design there and the choices that we made. And in part two of this video series, we will be talking more about what it means to have a design system and how we thought through that as we approached this project for creating a universal pro-life symbol and flag.
I'm so excited for this episode.
Yeah, this is you, babe. So why don't you start us off by talking about some of the details you thought through in creating the main element of our idea, which is the spiral.
Yes, the spiral is the main piece of this whole design system we're proposing. So how was that designed? If you guys go to our website, you will see there's a video that shows the construction, and you will see little like boxes that keep growing, and then there's a spiral that is built off of that. So that sequence of squares is something called the Fibonacci sequence. Okay. And that is a mathematical sequence that appears in many elements of nature. We were talking about that earlier, so I think the shape of a fern and the spiral of a fern, right?
Like the frond.
The frond, rather.
On a fern, yeah.
There's when you follow the sequence of the center of a sunflower, also there's some sort of spiral in the way the main elements of I think they're the seeds, they grow out of the center, and that happens with pine cones also, and pineapples. And there's a bunch of they see that in shells. So there's a lot of elements of nature that have a specific ratio in which the curves of the spirals move. And that is used for design. I think the credit card even has that ratio. It's very interesting, yeah. So anyway, this is something that's been known for millennia. Like the Greeks used it. I think it was even older than them that they discovered in a way, or noticed that was part of that existed in nature. And this is a shape, a form that is so beautiful, and talks about the logic behind creation, that we wanted to incorporate it, right? Yeah. So you see how our spiral is not exactly that, but it's based off of that sequence. So yeah.
It's so fascinating. I never knew about this Fibonacci thing until we talked about it, and you built the symbol off of that, but it's really cool. And so as incorporating this symbol into a flag, which is kind of what we started off thinking through, we wanted to make something that was a good quality flag.
Right.
So I know from knowing you that there are 5 main elements of having a good flag design that we talk about a lot. So why don't you go through those?
Right. So before jumping into the 5 design principles.
Okay.
So how does that translate into a flag, right? Yeah. So it's not exactly the same design. It's not just the spiral
plopped onto a flag.
Exactly.
Right.
That's not what I would recommend for any flag design. But anyway, the other element that I forgot to mention earlier is why the spiral again. I just want to restate it because I think it's important. Because we think the spiral, we see it in nature, right? And it has this implicit move, which is like, the beginning, but at the end could be infinite. It's open-ended. It's open to eternity in a way. And that's why we think that represents human life, because we in the pro-life movement, we focus in the beginning. We want to
protect
protect
that
the beginning of
vulnerable
life.
time, right?
Exactly.
But
Right, but it's
there's
open.
more.
It keeps
Yes.
going. So we want to focus. The word life means all of it, right? So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thanks.
Going back to your question, so let me pull it up here. This is, so you can see there, that's the symbol, and then it becomes this flag that I've shown in previous episodes, and you might have seen also online. And then this is the spiral, and then you can see there's the belly, and then there's the baby, right? Okay, so what are the principles that we used for this design? These 5 are taken from a pamphlet written by Ted Kay, who is the director, I believe, of the North American Vexillological Association. This association is
People who love flags.
people who love flags, basically. They are this association based in the United States and Canada. And they gather to study, talk about flags, and promote flag design. And so this pamphlet that you can find for free online compiles the 5 basic principles for flag design. The first one is to keep it simple. It sounds simple, but it isn't simple to make something simple. And the rule of thumb is that you should be able to draw your flag design in a little piece of paper, probably like just a few inches, right? With probably like a Sharpie or crayon. So that forces you to make the design simple. One of the reasons is that when you see a flag, you won't see it like up close. You will see it very far away, probably this big.
And waving.
Waving, probably, the weather is not the best, so it's not going to be like the best lighting. So you need to keep it simple for it to be memorable, recognizable.
And something we've also talked about is having a flag that is simple enough. A good indication of that is if you ask a child to draw it, that they would get the basic elements correct, and you would be able to also recognize it that way, right?
Right. We actually did that with ours because it's so simple. It's just a spiral. So even if they don't get it exactly right to the millimeter, they get the main concept, and that's what counts.
Right.
Same if I asked a child to draw the American flag, they would get, maybe the crooked lines, but the main elements would be there, and that's precious, right? So the second one is about meaningful symbolism. For example, the American flag, it's mainly about the states, right? The 13 colonies and becoming the 50 states. So that's very clear. And every flag is symbolic. So if you think about stars in the American flag, what are stars? The stars are balls of incandescent fire in outer space. What do they have to do with a piece of land, a territory in Earth? Like mechanically, materially speaking, there's no real connection.
Yeah.
The connection is symbolic. And how you represent that star is like a 5-point geometric shape. So it's also already a translation. And that, why does that talk about the states, for example? Well, maybe you can make the case there, like these guiding posts in at night or something. It's poetic. So I say that because there's this desire to make something meaningful just explicit and raw without any mediation of symbolism. For example, there's some ProLife flags that put directly the image, the photo of a baby. There's nothing else. It's just raw, and that doesn't help communicate the whole meaning. We're talking about meaning here, right? That's why symbols help. They can condense a lot of ideas.
Right. And I think having like explicit images or like clear images of babies, or we'll talk about this later, but baby feet or things like that closes you in. And so in our flag, we tried to make it, I don't know if abstract, a little bit more abstract is a good way to phrase that, but so that it can be more open to different applications.
Right. The third rule is no lettering or seals. That's pretty much like the rule number 1. You want to keep it simple. So words. Or seals which could be also intricate designs in a little piece like a circle or like a shield or something. They are not easy to see, and many state flags here in the United States have that.
A lot of them do. They're bad.
Yeah, a blue sheet with a seal in the middle that has like 15 different elements with letters, so nobody remembers their state flags, but you do remember the flags of like the state of Colorado that is so simple, you know, or the city of Chicago that I love, or some other ones that are simple. So number 4 is to make it distinctive or related. And some flags are similar to others in purposely, right? You have a few Central American flags that are used in the light blue and the white to show that they are part of Central America. For example, you have a few countries in Latin America that use similar colors too, that used to be the same territory.
Or Africa.
In Africa, you have a similar set of colors too. Or in Europe, you have, for some countries, the 3 columns. You know, think of France, Italy, and the Netherlands. They have similar flags in the sense of the structure. So that's one way to go to make it related.
Okay.
We are going the other route. We're trying to make it distinctive because there isn't any other flag, at least well known, that is a spiral. Think of any country flag, any state flag, at least not in rendering or something similar.
Right.
So
it's unique.
It's unique flag, exactly.
Yeah.
And the last one is use 2 to 3 basic colors. Again, this is like about simplicity. There's some really good flags out there that break this rule. There's one that I love that is the South African flag that has like 6, I believe. And you have the rainbow flag that, besides the ideology behind it, the design is pretty good. It has more than 2 to 3 colors. But those are mainly exceptions. The flags that you will remember the most are very simple. Again, think of the United States, think of Canada, think of France, think of
Japan,
just 2 colors and very effective. In our case, we have also just 3 colors, right? And one thing to note is that the placement of the colors is on purpose, because purple is a much darker color than white and light blue. Value is the value of color terminology is value. Okay. Is much darker than light blue and white, and that creates enough contrast, because if you don't have good light, you would still if you see this in black and white, you would still notice the areas in the main design. So the placement of the darker colors against the lighter ones also is important.
Yeah. So let's talk about the colors we chose and why, just to reiterate that if this is someone's first time watching. So the purple is a nice feminine color, we think, and I think it's more maternal feeling than like pink. And so there's a few reasons we went with purple, but one is that it's often a color that has been used by like the feminist movement and is a part of the feminist flag. And we kind of wanted to reclaim that purple and use it, but also like celebrate womanhood in our pro-life movement, because like obviously women are at the center of this, and in a way, and in a strong way, right? And only women have the power potential to have a child in their womb. So, and of course that's not necessarily every woman, I'm not saying that, but women have this power potential to give birth that men don't have. So we wanted to have a strong color to try to represent that, right?
Yes, so purple was very purposely placed for the mother here.
Yes.
And coming from a Catholic background, Catholic Christian, I would say, because this is not only a Catholic thing, it's a history of the church. Purple is used in times of waiting periods. So if you think of Lent, if you think of Advent, the color that the churches use, and the church has always used, is purple. Because it's a time of patient waiting for something. In the case of Lent, it's for Easter. In the case of Advent, it's for Christmas, which is, the birth of Christ. So there's a nod to that. The moving on to the white. You want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So the white is to represent the purity of the child growing in the womb, the innocence. And we felt that that was a great color to just represent that human soul that is valuable and precious.
In many flag designs, the reason for the white is peace. That's also an interesting thing, And if you think about the symbol of darkness and light, light refers to the known, the goodness of the world. Darker colors like black means lack of consciousness, because you sleep. You're at night, it's dark, so we went for the opposite, of course, which is peace, purity, the human soul. There could have been, and I've seen attempts where they try to add color to the baby, and that could lead to some misunderstandings, because the baby could be a boy or a girl. And so
keeping it simple
it simple helps.
Yes.
Because we focus on the humanity of the baby. Right?
And then light blue.
The light blue represents the father. And I think the pro-life movement is making an effort to bring the figure of the father into the equation, but many times it's lost. It's you don't hear about the father, and this idea that it's only between the baby and the mother, which absolutely the baby is in the center, and the mother is also very close to that. But then that's where the argument ends. We want to incorporate the family as a whole. So this is the the image of a family in a way.
Right.
And the father is there, yes, as a third character, yes, in the outside, but he's there and he's protecting the other ones.
And of course, a father figure might not be present in every family, but this can also be interpreted as like society at large embracing and protecting the mother and child, and that protection piece is still something we often think of as like a paternal characteristic. And then, do you want to talk about how in Latin America the wave is also a nod to that?
There's a very famous and large pro-life movement called the light blue wave, or the azure wave, as one of our followers likes to call it.
Shout out to Carter.
And that was also a reason to put light blue. It could have been a different color. This is a nod to this movement, and I think it's very fitting. Also because they call themselves a wave, like a movement, and the shape that we chose kind of resembles a wave in some ways.
With the spiral.
Yeah. So this is also based on that. Especially me coming from Latin America, I've seen it. So.
Yeah, so we want this symbol to be able to be an international symbol for the pro-life movement. So it's nice to be able to incorporate some elements of that as well. Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap up this first part 1?
No, I think that's good for now.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for tuning in to part 1 of our discussion on the design behind our symbol and flag. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe so you can hear more videos about what we're up to with ProLife Brand. And definitely make sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and follow us there. Thank you.